all of our business dealings have been with people we have known, right? And then one opportunity has led into another opportunity. And I think that, moving forward, building out this community of women who support other women, whether it be in finance, whether it be in, entrepreneurship, right? Or investors, women investors, and us connecting with all of these. I think it's starting to evolve in terms of, what this is shaping up to be like, right?
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Hey everyone, today I have a friend of mine, Rose Vitale. Rose was actually my first guest. She let me practice my first interview with her. Again, this is Rose Vitale. She is now managing member of DRA Family Office. She is an investor and serial entrepreneur who has been helping women entrepreneurs secure capital. She is committed to helping female business owners secure funding for their businesses and to help them grow with her knowledge and expertise in business building. Last year, she personally launched FundHer World, a massive campaign donating personal money to empower women both locally, nationally, and in some cases, internationally. Rose is a pioneer with one goal: support and empower women. Her mission is to change female entrepreneurs' lives with all of her efforts. This is her vision, and she is doing it. Take a listen, enjoy the show. I think you're really going to enjoy. You'll hear Rose's passion. You'll understand why she's doing what she's doing. We have a really good time. Rose, thank you. And thank you for coming back. So we'll have as much fun as we always do, of course.
Right.
Now we're on whatever episode we're on now. Rose has had some changes going on, just like we all have. And she's up to some pretty cool stuff right now. So welcome back.
Well, thank you. How long? It's been at least a couple of years, right? Since you've been doing your show?
We're over 2 years now, two and a half up to. So it's 2 in June. So
okay, nice.
Keep going. And who
I know. And you're always popping up on my my news feed. So, I was it's always entertaining to see you, consistently posting.
It's been fun, way more fun than I thought it was going to be. And it's been going on way longer than I ever thought I would keep doing this too. So I'm having a good time.
That's good. You need to have a good time with all the stresses you deal with.
The last time we talked over 2 years ago on the show that everybody else knows about, had you sold your mobile business yet, or were you still?
No, we were still in it. Obviously had a long ride with wireless. Yeah. And so that all finally came to a head 2 years ago. Just kind of decided to make a shift and to do work that was more impactful and meaningful. And at the end of the day, I think that that's what's important, moving forward, that really what motivates you, right? What really kind of gets you going. And, some of the things that you do in terms of, Money with Mission and, these food deserts, and, that's a passion of yours. And so I think that it's critical in terms of really finding your passion, because I think that that's what really drives, whatever it drives yourself, it drives motivation.
It keeps you getting up in the morning.
Exactly.
Without being sad. We weren't going here, but the interesting thing about this is you guys got into the mobile business. You did a really good job and you were doing really well with it. Mm-hmm. I think when we talked, we were just starting with the funding women in business and getting started with all that. And you found that to be more of a driver for you. And so decided to sell your mobile businesses. That's a big pivot. And I think when we talked the first time, we talked about all the different pivots we have to make in our lives to get to where we're supposed to be. So that was huge for you guys. You did okay, I understand. We've talked about that, but it was probably pretty scary to change from what we know. We've been doing this for all these years. We're going to quit this and do something different. Talk about that transition? Because so many of us go through transitions or don't because we're afraid of it.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. And I think that you're absolutely right. There was a lot of fears that came up during the whole process about like, what are we going to do next? Or, what is really out there for us? Your particular business for so long. It's you can do it in your sleep, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so I think you're absolutely right. There was so many fears and doubts of like, where do we really go from here? But I think that ultimately making that decision and looking back, because it's been, I think, a little over a year now when we finally just put it all to rest. And I think that making that decision was tough. But then when you finally make a decision and you go with it and you move forward, you find it's not that scary. And you find opportunities that open up, and you find people you connect with and you resonate with. And that, I was talking to Diane a few days ago, and I told her I found it interesting that, all of our business dealings have been with people we have known, right? And then one opportunity has led into another opportunity. And I think that, moving forward, building out this community of women who support other women, whether it be in finance, whether it be in, entrepreneurship, right? Or investors, women investors, and us connecting with all of these. I think it's starting to evolve in terms of, what this is shaping up to be like, right? And, talking to you about some of the things that we may do together, and then, working with people like Gingy and, talking about, doing some of the things that she's doing, and just learning from all these amazing women, because I think that we come together and we have all these different skills, right? And I think that one of the greatest assets that women have is if they can really learn how to get along and come together, that this will be the determining factor of our success, right? And I think that, one of the things that I really kind of thought about years ago is that when women really truly do stick together against all odds, you're going to argue with your ladies, you might have a fallout or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, if we come back together and we really foster each other's, growth and success, this is what's going to define us in the future in terms of how we're going to really rise together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one thing I've admired about you, Rose, is your ability to see through a lot of crap. Because when in the business, when we were talking 2 years ago, we met quite a few women who wanted to do business, who wanted to work together, and you'd call them out for they weren't the people you wanted to work with, and you're really good at doing that. And every woman, every man, every person isn't the person you want to work with. And it's really important to me to have somebody on the team who can see those flaws in people who are not your people to work with. And you're really good at that.
I appreciate that.
I know that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think that, at the end of the day, if you see people who can't foster, whether it be, women or men or whatever the case is that, you have to move past people like that, because those are the people that are going to hold you back, and you can't allow, certain peoples to hold you back in order to get to where you're going to be. You don't have to do it maliciously or, vindictively, which, has happened right in the past. And I've shared some of, the experiences, especially, building out some of the things that we've built out. And, hate from other women is just not, it's just not acceptable. Right. And, I joked around with a friend of mine, and, she's like, she calls it girl on girl hate crimes.
And, actually, I don't even know if it's that. It's just a different way of doing business. You and I are we're relationship for life kind of people. If we're going to work together, we're going to be in this thing forever together. Yeah. It's not a transactional thing. And there are so many transactional people in the world that we come up against that can pretend to be relationship for life. You can see it though. It's really a gift. And I haven't ever told you that. So here we are.
Well, I appreciate that. I was just having a talk with Rochelle about the same situation yesterday about, how you can kind of just, intuitively feel that sometimes people want to deal with you because of what you have or who you might connect them to, right? I'm sure it's happened to you in the past.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's critical to try to identify what doesn't feel right. I think it's all, what doesn't feel right, what doesn't resonate, and we go with that.
Yes, perfect. And it is a feeling. It's not always a head thing. It is more of a body feeling kind of thing of who's the right person for you to be working with. That's
Yeah.
really so. Since you guys you've sold out of your mobile business and you started your own family office, and I know a lot of people don't know what that is. So talk about what a family office is.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I think you're absolutely right. It's still fairly new terminology when it comes to the investment space, but basically, family office is really managing your internal capital and allocating it as opposed to, giving it to asset managers, right? So it's really kind of I believe, more of a holistic approach in terms of managing your capital and where you want to allocate those, whether it be for philanthropy and entrepreneurial stuff, just kind of depending on what the focus is, because I think that every family has a different focus depending on the generations involved and who's involved. So I think that that's the best way to describe it. Is it's more of a holistic approach to money management, and basically, I mean, my philosophy is that if we've made the money, then I think that we should be smart enough to manage it, right? And I think that that's the critical point of making money is one thing, but managing to keep it is a whole nother thing. When you have so many people who approach you for deals, right? You see thousands every day. We get deals sent to our inbox, and I think it's important to have a team who really knows how to evaluate those deals as well, and really kind of building the team around that, whether it be, I was just talking about, the importance of a chief investment officer on your team, right? And how to really do your due diligence. I think that those are two critical components of a successful family is that, having somebody to vet those deals, number one. And then number two is having a really good due diligence team, because, at the end of the day, if your investments fail, I mean, that all comes down to you. I mean, it really comes down to you and taking charge of your own, I think your own future.
Yeah. So I want to you talked about a lot of stuff, and the important really thing that's I'm really bringing into my listeners and my women is team. And so with your family office, you've done it with your family, built this office and have your internal team. And there's a certain level of wealth that has that kind of office as their own internal family office. For those of us who have not reached that level of wealth, still working towards that, your family, you still need all that team to help you to do your investments. A chief investment officer, an attorney, accountants, all those people need to be on your team so that you can achieve the level of wealth, do the things that you want to do. Even the person on your team who helps you find the philanthropic things that you want to invest in, who investigate those people, and investigate those organizations to know they're doing with your money what you want them to do. That's all very important. And that's something that I think a lot of us as individuals, especially the surgeon, the women surgeon out there, the women physicians out there, who we're really smart people and think we are used to doing everything on our own, and we approach investing that same way. That's not how the people who get really, really wealthy do it, guys. They really have a full-on team out there helping them to build their wealth, protect their wealth, making sure everything is going along the line the way they want, because like Rose said, if it goes away, it's really up to you. So you do have to know something, and you're following, and you have people that you can trust. You got those people that are not just transactional on your team.
Yes.
To help you. That's so key.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of your community of, doctors who, really want their monies to work for them, right? You guys work so hard. You guys are smart when it comes to, knowing the things that you guys know, and doing the things that you do. And then when it comes down to finances and learning about that aspect of things, sometimes I see there's a bit of a learning curve, right?
Someone's value and someone's reputation can be You can find out, like Rose recommends people to me, and if Rose recommends somebody to me, I'm automatically going to have a level of trust in that person because I trust Rose. So that's a good way to not have to vet everybody 100% yourself, as you know people who know people who know people, and it's the way the networking goes. It's really good.
I agree. I mean, it was great to see you in Austin and, have an opportunity to connect and, you meet everybody and everybody really liked you. It was really fun. And everybody was like, oh, she's so much fun.
We haven't, I haven't gotten to hang out with the team as much as I want to, because they are all over the place. Rose took everybody to Vegas for Christmas and they sent me pictures of them. Oh my gosh. It was like talking about jealous. It was like those guys.
It was a lot of fun. It was a great time for us, I think, to connect and bond deeper and just talk about some of our initiatives and things that me and Gingy and Diane are working on. We're obviously Gingy has a lot of experience running a debt fund, which she has done. She runs that Enhanced Capital and she runs the debt fund for that. And they've deployed over $3 billion of money into socially impacted, investments. And so working with her on, what does that look like for us, and possibly creating a debt fund with her and doing some, women-led minority investments in terms of debt, because not everybody qualifies for, giving up equity in their company, and maybe they just need some debt, right, at an affordable rate. And so there's a lot of programs, actually, especially here in California with the CDFI, that's going to be a new initiative in April that they're going to be launching. So she knows a lot about that.
That's one of the people on your team that helps with the financial side, with different things you guys can invest in and how you can put your money to work, right?
Yes. Yeah, Gingy, she has a lot of experience. She's been working for the company for 18 years. And, just learning aside from her, in terms of, what are some of the things that she has done. And that's how we actually got to know Nona with the vertical harvest. And that led into an opportunity for us, which I think that's going to be quite impactful. And when we were actually in Vegas, we had the opportunity to meet with the city, and they chose, vertical harvest as the farm that they want to build in their community. So it's amazing to see the impact of the work that's happening. They're building one in Detroit. So I'm hoping to see it.
Everybody, we got to talk about vertical harvest, because I don't think I've talked about that yet. Nona, what's Nona's last name? Yahir is the founder of Vertical Harvest Farms, which is an indoor controlled farm who they build in urban areas. Their first one was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It went like 3 stories, 4 stories high, and on a strip of grass, and they're producing over 100,000 pounds of food for Jackson Hole, which has a very short growing season. And now people can get locally grown, nutritious food, produce year round. And so she's taking that. Their goal, when I talked to her in Austin, was 5 new buildings, 5 new operations in the next, I want to say year, but I might be being too aggressive on that one. But I know they've got the building going on in Maine.
Yeah.
Then you said Detroit, and then looking at Vegas. And I'm really working hard to try to get something here in the Midwest, down lower Midwest, with her, to try to get that going. So the kinds of things that you guys are investing in are women-led, you said women-led, minority-led businesses, correct? Are you guys doing real estate? I guess
Diane handles more of the real estate aspect of things, as opposed to I handle more of the venture side. So real estate's not a huge focus, although, obviously given with the market, I think commercial real estate always tends to be a little bit more resilient than the residential side. I'm sure you know that. It hasn't taken a massive hit as the resident side. So I think that, in terms of opportunity, certainly, over the next 2 years, is going to be massive opportunity. Consolidation's always happening, but same thing in business, right? I was talking to Nona in terms of even this whole vertical farming. It's still a relatively new industry that will evolve. And when that happens, I think it'll become the multi-billion-dollar industry that that all these, vertical farms are hoping it will be.
Mhm.
But I think along the way, there's going to be some consolidation, right?
Of
People who
course.
may not know how to run farms, people who invested wrong, people who only invested into ag tech as opposed to the people, right? And so I think there's going to be some massive consolidation. And with that, there's massive opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you see for DRA Family Office for the next 5 years? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that first of all, I go back to finding amazing people to work with, right? Whether it be them running funds, running companies, finding those opportunities. So I think this year is really, last year was really about establishing the groundwork. This year is really more about deciding who we work with going forward, right? And lining all those people up. And then with those group of people that we've decided to work with, then we go ahead and foster some of the relationships and the capital deployments and opportunities that I think will evolve out of that. And that all evolves, with getting to know somebody and trusting somebody and then seeing your exits and seeing all of this happen. And so that's, I think for me, we've identified some really great companies in terms of who we're going to work with, right? Moving forward. And so, obviously Gingy being one of them, Nona being one of them. And then there's a few other men that I've identified that I really find that they may have, similar interests and similar, characteristics of what we look for in terms of, maybe a fund manager, right?
Okay.
Because I think that there's some opportunity that's going to be happening. I think that, with the market, the way it is right now, we're going to see opportunities where we can, get companies maybe 20, 30, 40% cheaper.
Okay. So acquisitions sounds like a place for you to go where there's doing the Warren Buffett way, a good company that's just undervalued, and let the people that are there who are good run the company and build it back up.
Yeah,
That's good.
I agree. And I think, like I said, with the economy, I always say that in an economy like this, we get an opportunity to see who was overvalued, right? And basically see the companies who, we can partner with that may need that capital or may need an exit. And this is the opportunity to actually buy and get that 30, 40% reduction. And so we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation going into 2023 for sure.
Can average investor, so my listeners are listening and they're like, gosh, I want to be a part of investing in women and women-led businesses. And can they partner with you, or have you guys figured out that structure at all?
Yeah, we're starting to figure that out, because I think that giving the opportunity to people who never had the opportunity to participate in deals like that. I was talking to one of the guys that we're looking to partner with, and he has so many deals, and he was like, my standard, even though they may be high net worth, but they may not qualify for an investment of that size, right? When you're, when it's north of $10 million, and the average investor, even a high net worth, maybe invest $1 million, that still may be over them, right? Over their threshold of what they're comfortable with. And so I think that, creating opportunities for people who never had that opportunity. I think there's a couple of companies who are starting to do that, like Portfolio. I don't know if you've heard of them. Maybe you have. Where people can get involved at, like, I think $10,000. And so, I mean, that's pretty reasonable, but they have several funds, they have several initiatives.
So the way that, to me, it sounds like what you're saying is that the way an individual person wouldn't come to you and say, hey, I want to invest with you in this company. You may have to take, say, Money with Mission raises $10 million and says, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at DRA Family Office and invest along with them in different things. And we may be able to bring parts of that fund into invest alongside you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's what, a lot of families have been starting to do as I go to more and more of these conferences, participating in, co-investment opportunities with other families. I think it's pretty, it's starting to get big now, right? Where, people are saying, this particular investment's maybe 20 million, you come in with five, you come in with five, and people kind of allocate. I think that helps, number one, mitigate some of the risk. And then, you get to learn with other families. So that's starting to really happen and evolve with some of these groups that, especially the group that, you met in Austin. I think that they're starting to syndicate more deals to other families.
Interesting. Hey, Rose, were you born into wealth and you just woke up and you came out of your mom and you had that silver spoon hanging out around your neck?
Well, no, I always joke around that I'm a girl from 10 Mile Road.
Okay.
And so that's a reference to Eminem, and because he's from 8 Mile Road, and literally he actually went to my same school, although we're 8 years apart. So, no, I didn't. I think that my motivation for success was actually a very personal one that, I never really shared publicly. I've shared it with some of my friends, and maybe I haven't even shared it with you, but having both my parents are mentally disabled. My mom really can't read past the third or fourth grade, so she always had small jobs. And my motivation for success was really seeing my mom struggle as hard as she did for us, and going through some of the things that she went through. She was in an abusive relationship with my father's family, and seeing that really affected me on a very deep level in terms of just seeing what she went through, and knowing I think at a very young age that money was the determining factor to change that, right? And so really just seeing my mom go through that really, I think, motivated me to say that it has to be a better way, has to be a better situation.
You and I, so you've never told me that, and I'm going to tell you my why now too, since we put that out there. But this is why we're connected. Is my why is about my mother also watching her having to stay in, or I felt like she stayed in an abusive relationship for financial reasons.
Same thing with my mom. Yeah, I was a very personal story. I remember being probably under the age of maybe 7 or 8, and seeing my mom crying after what took place, and remember saying to her that, don't worry, one day I'm gonna be able to afford to take you out of a situation like that. And I knew even at that young age that money had to be the factor that that takes people out of that situation. And I think that really motivates me in terms of giving women the opportunity. When I look at the things that we want to be able to do as a venture fund, as a family office, for me the legacy piece is really to inspire women. We're going to be able to change history if we invest more in women. We're going to be able to take women out of abusive situations. We're going to give women who never had the opportunity, single moms, the opportunity to better themselves, better their lives. I think that one of the things that I found is that, single moms work really hard for their children. And so by giving them opportunities, you'll never see somebody who's more dedicated and loyal than single moms. And so, I saw that with our companies, and, giving them the opportunity to work for us, and giving them the flexibility that they needed when they needed the time off for their kids. I think that that's important. And I think that if we invest into those type of organizations and women, that's what's really going to change the paradigm. And this is how we're going to get the rates of return, and we're going to foster in, not only, human capital and, rates of return in terms of the bank account, but we're going to have emotional capital. And we're going to have what I go back to, and what I believe in is that if women can stick together, we will change the paradigm. Somebody sent me a quote that, one woman can change anything, many women can change everything.
Oh my gosh, that's we can quit now. Mic drop.
I know, I loved it. I never forgot it. And that's what I truly believe. I have the vision of what I have in terms of, really empowering women. If we can have a network of women who we not just give money to, like so many of these organizations who just, give money away. And, when you empower women and you invest into them and you get them to build businesses and create sustainability for them, this is what's going to change the paradigm.
And seeing more women do that encourages and shows more women that it can be done. So just being that example, which you're so much more than just an example, but being that example is huge in and of itself. And you didn't even talk about, what you implied, the ripple effect of one woman, or all the saying that you said, but a woman taking care of her children and showing her children what she can do, and that ripple effect on her son and daughter, or whatever her kids, is amazing. That's how the whole paradigm shifts. It's not just us, it is what we do and how we put our stuff out into the world and our intentions in doing the things we're doing. That is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. One of the things I really admire in you is that, for you to become, a doctor, and obviously we kind of talked about this, years ago, that, when you first got started in the line of work that you do, there was less than, I don't know, you told me there was less than a certain percentage of women who actually became the type of work you do.
Yep. I was one of the first 100 female urologists in the country.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so impressive. Goodness, especially, I'm not a person that comes from obviously formal education. I always say I have to make the mistake at least twice, and so
you're smarter than me. I'm like 3 or 4 times before I finally realized, oh shit, I shouldn't have been doing that.
I was just being nice on me. Oh, this is too funny.
Oh,
but
man.
the kind of work you do is just amazing. And to your point, obviously we've never shared that personal story about our mothers, but I think that's important. I never knew that about you, and I know that recently your mother passed away, so I'm really sorry about that. But I know you were there for her, and it's not always easy being there for a parent, and seeing them in their final years, and going through that is takes a massive toll, on you. And I think that I think I read something we were talking about something about when you set yourself up for wealth and success and all of that. I think that the most important aspect of that, at least for me, is the freedom to do what we need to do, whether it be for ourselves or for our families, or opportunities that come along that we may need to be there for somebody. I think that's the most important aspect. It's not what you can buy, it's those opportunities of what you can do.
Yeah, I am really seeing and pointing out how money for its sake is worthless. Money gets you one big thing, and that's time freedom. And it is time that is our thing that we can't ever get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Money, you can always get some more of that. But time, and if you have the money to be able to do what you want with your time, that is everything right there. So that's why I want people, women, to have multiple streams of income, so that if your job goes away, or if you need to take time off from your job, you can have money coming in from other places, so you can go and take care of your mom or dad or kids or husband or whoever's there for you that needs you, and you want to be there for them. You can do that without worrying about the rest of your finances and that kind of stuff going on. That is my drive right there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things I always like to ask people is that, what does success mean to you? Because I think that when you ask, what does success mean to you, everybody's answer to that is different, right? Success to some people is just having a nice home for their family, right? That could be success for some people. I remember I used to ask some of my employees, one of the things that I used to always do is when I would go and visit stores and visit employees, I used to ask, what motivated them? What does success look like to them? And I had one employee said to me that success to them was having a home for their daughter, being able to buy some of the things that they needed and wanted. And basically that was success to them. She didn't talk about, fancy cars or fancy mansions or, private jets or anything of that nature. She just talked about having some simple things, and that was success to her. And that really touched me pretty deep. I never forgot that. And it really resonated with me. I was just like, wow, everybody's definition of success is different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Hey, Rose, how can people get in touch with you and learn more about DRA?
Yeah, they can always reach out to us directly, drafamilyoffice.com. That's always a great opportunity. Or they can email me, Vitale at DRA Family Office. I'm on LinkedIn. I also do a podcast, interviewing different people and educating women on what it's like to be a female investor. And so,
what's the name of your podcast?
Female Investor Podcast.
Female Investor.
Yeah, so we just talk about a variety of different things. I think that one of the things when I first started investing is knowing the terminology. I didn't even know some of the terminology. We were just talking prior to recording this show about what is a sidecar and what is an SPV. I didn't even know what that was.
Yes.
The interesting story is that actually Gingy, who called her office before Shark Tank became like Shark Tank, is Barbara called her office to ask what the difference between debt and equity was.
Oh,
she
my.
didn't even know.
Wow. So guys, again, Rose has led me right into this and she didn't even know it. Just so you know, I'm coming up with a course. It is in the works right now that's going to help you understand all of these things so that this language of investing isn't so foreign. It is really like learning a foreign language, and the words, the deeper in you get, the more the languages, like SPVs, what Rose talked about. Sidecar was a new one for me today. I hadn't heard of that. And there's just so many different things, SPACs, all these different words that are out there and acronyms. What the heck are people talking about? It makes you feel stupid. It's made me feel stupid. But
that's the thing I love about you. And I think you're absolutely right. And what you're building, I'd really love to, have some of our audience really get to know that, because you're absolutely right. Like, what is an SPV? I didn't even know what some of that stuff was. Me too. I was a victim of not knowing debt versus equity back in the day.
Yes. Yes.
And to sit in some of these, meetings and going to all these places and people are using acronyms and you're like, everybody's looking around and they know what they're talking about, but you don't know.
You're secretly writing it down so you can get out and go call somebody or go look it up. What the heck did that mean?
Exactly. I love that. It's such a pleasure to talk with you on this level. And it just, your synergy with me, it feels so comfortable. And I'm sure your audience love that about you. And I think that, what you're bringing to them and your hopes and desires of what you want to do for women too, I think is incredible. So thank you for the work that you do first and foremost, because, this time commitment of doing podcasts and having somebody edit it, it's time, it's effort, it's energy, it's money. So I get that. So thank you for what you do and try to really help bring and uplift women.
I love it. And that's our synergy. FundHer World. We haven't talked about that at all. We're going to be finished in a minute, you guys, but I can't go without her talking about FundHer World. Tell us about what that is and what's going on there.
Yeah, FundHer World is a venture fund that we created, with the desires and the hopes of really changing the paradigm. Most people don't know that women get less than 3% of the venture funding out there. And so really to help change that narrative, I go back to one thing, that if we give women the opportunity to get the capital that they need, we will, in fact, change history and change the course of history. Yeah. And so, my goal with FundHer World is to look for amazing opportunities,
where we can really help scale a company and have, what everybody calls unicorns, but I don't call the people I deal with unicorns. We're tigers, because tigers are fierce.
Yeah. So a venture fund is a fund that invests in a business and takes usually some of the equity of that business and helps them to grow. This is where we talked about equity and debt. You can also invest in a building. It's like you bought a house, you have debt in your house. You do get equity too, but guys, this gets complicated. So really, you're not dumb. It just gets complicated. And then once you start understanding it, it all becomes crystal clear, just like going to medical school. When you first didn't know, will you be able to figure out what an artery, a vein, and a nerve is? You got it. You'll get this too. It just takes some time. Rose, thank you so much for being here. All her stuff is going to be in the show notes, you guys. So you can connect with her, follow her, listen to her podcast, subscribe there. If you haven't subscribed to this one, subscribe to this one, because we have more and more great guests coming on. Thanks so much. See you soon.
Hi, this is Felecia, host of Money with Mission, the social impact real estate investing podcast for female surgeons and proceduralists. I've been a urologist since 1993. I was one of the first 100 women urologists in the United States. Like most of you, all I knew about money was go to school, get a great job, save money, work until I could afford to retire and to start enjoying life. I quickly knew this was not what I wanted. I started building wealth and passive income with real estate over 20 years ago. I want to help you do the same faster and with more efficiency. Let's give ourselves options in our careers. Money coming in, regardless of whether you go to work, is a way to make that happen. Investing in social impact real estate projects is a way to build passive income, have a positive social impact, and start to build the legacy you want to leave.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.